Okay, this video is for anyone who may be confused on how to do these 6 problems using the quadratic formula. I'm just going to do a couple of them to demonstrate for anyone who needs a little clarity. So, in your quadratic equation, you have 3 terms, an x squared, an x, and a number. The number in front of the x squared is always your a. In this problem, it's the number 1, because there's no number written, which means it's a 1. So a is 1. In the middle term, the b value is actually negative 2, because there's a minus sign in front of the 2. That minus sign sticks with the 2. And then for the c, it's going to be negative 9. So now we have our a, b, and c. Now we're going to write out our quadratic formula. And this never changes. This is always the quadratic formula that you're going to use. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. And now we just plug all the numbers in. So the negative of b, well, b is already a negative, so it's negative of negative 2. Plus or minus the square root of negative 2 squared. I always put that in parentheses, by the way. Whenever I'm squaring a number, I'll put it in parentheses. Minus 4 times a, which is 1, in parentheses, times c, which is negative 9. In parentheses, all divided by 2 times a, which is 1. Alright, so now that's half credit if you get to that. If you get all the numbers plugged in correctly, you get half credit. Now we have to simplify. So the negative of negative 2. Basically, these negative signs cancel out and it becomes a plus. Plus or minus the square root. Negative 2 squared is 4. Minus 4 times 1 times negative 9. 4 times 1 is 4, times negative 9 is negative 36. All divided by 2 times 1, which is just 2. Now under the radical, we have 4 minus negative 36, which if you could always use your calculator, obviously. Minus minus becomes plus plus. So you get square root of 40 over 2. Now, the number under the radical, if it's a perfect square, you could keep simplifying. If it's not a perfect square, you just leave it like this. This is your final answer, because square root of 40 is not square rootable. So if you can't simplify that anymore, square root of 40 can't be simplified, you just leave it. In the previous examples, we got numbers like square root of 16, which you could simplify, so you would keep going. But in this one, you just leave it, and that's your answer. Okay? Let's do one more together. Let's try this one, number 6 at the bottom here. This one looks tricky. Now, first thing I notice is that this is not in standard form. Alright, so I'm going to add everything. You know, it doesn't matter which side you add it to. That doesn't matter at all. I'm going to just bring everything to this side. I'm going to subtract 2. So we get 0 equals 5x squared minus 9x minus 2. You could have brought the 9x over to this side. It's the same exact thing. Alright? Now we label our A, B, and C. A is 5. B is negative 9. C is negative 2. Make sure it's in standard form first. This is in standard form. If your equation is not in standard form, then you're going to get the wrong A, B, and C. So the negative of negative 9 plus or minus square root of negative 9 squared minus 4 times A, which is 5, times C, which is negative 2, all divided by 2 times A, which is 5. So we're going to get 9 plus or minus 81 minus 20 times 2, so negative 40. 81 minus negative 40 over 10. Now we could simplify. Minus with negative becomes plus plus. So this becomes 9 plus or minus square root of 121 over 10. Now this example, square root of 121 is 11. So this one can be simplified. So we wouldn't just leave it alone. Now we have to go further. Remember now what we do? We do our 2 branches and we do 9 plus 11 over 10 and 9 minus 11 over 10. Because the plus minus symbol represents 2 separate scenarios. So 9 plus 11 is 20 over 10, which is 2. So x equals 2 is one of our answers. 9 minus 11 is negative 2 over 10. So x equals, when we simplify that, negative 1/5. All right, that's the quadratic formula. Your quiz will be on Tuesday. It'll probably be like 6 problems, just like this. It's going to be on Edgelastic. All right, so you only have numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5 to finish for homework later today. Due at 4 o'clock.